Who doesn't love Kid President? His inspirational mandates in his video have some take-home messages that really apply directly to our class. So, like Kid President said, it's time to get our learn on. Science, you're here. You take up space. You matter. Everyone in this class is unique and has a fresh perspective to add to the many discussions that we're going to have. Let's learn from each other's experiences this semester, as well as what you're going to learn from the text and from the lectures. He says that history is made up by ordinary people like you and me and that guy. So remember that behind every post on a discussion board is another human being with a valid perspective. It's sometimes easy to forget this. As outlined in the syllabus, professional behavior is expected in all forms of communication. So like Kid President says, don't be a bully. You want to change the world? You got to know about it. The content that you're going to learn in this class is incredibly relevant to those who work with or are going to work with kids. So make sure that you read the assigned chapters and really digest the information so that you can apply it later on. And last but not least, we got to make the world awesome. Someone is learning from you. All right, and here is the point in the video that you've all been waiting for, the bonus opportunity. You will receive 1 extra credit point if you upload a picture of yourself to your D2L profile. Please post your profile picture by the end of the week to receive the bonus point. Getting to see everybody's smiling faces will help this class feel more like a community and will also help everybody visualize who they are talking to in the discussion board posts throughout the semester. So again, you'll receive 1 extra credit point if you upload a picture of yourself to your D2L profile by the end of this week. All right, now moving on to the lecture. So for this brief lecture, we're going to be talking about the first chapter of the Slavin text, Educational Psychology, A Foundation for Teaching. A recent study found that a single year spent with an outstanding or top 5% teacher can add $50,000 to a student's lifetime earnings. Wow. But what makes an outstanding teacher outstanding? Scratch outstanding, what makes a good teacher? Think of the teachers that were your favorite or most effective, the ones that you felt really imparted knowledge upon you and facilitated your learning. What traits or abilities did they possess that you believe made them good teachers? Go ahead and pause the video for a second as you think of a couple attributes or qualities. According to Slavin, the author of your textbook, he says that a good teacher is intentional, knows the subject matter, has mastered teaching skills, and is able to communicate knowledge by combining intentionality, knowledge, and the mastery of their trade. But why should we care about what Slavin has to say? Well, for a really good reason, because he's gone through all of the available credible research on educational psychology and has written your textbook based on it. It's not just his opinion, but it's what years and years of science has found, which helps us get closer and closer to the best answer. So for the remainder of this book, he will be presenting what research has found to be true so far in the field of educational psychology and provide some helpful tips on how to incorporate those principles and findings so that you guys can absorb that knowledge and turn it around and use it to be a good teacher. So good teachers know their subject matter and have mastered pedagogical skills. What is pedagogy? Pedagogy is a fancy term for instruction, or the link between what a teacher wants students to learn and what the students actually learn. So good teachers accomplish all of the tasks involved in effective instruction with warmth, enthusiasm, and caring. They build relationships with their students and are intentional teachers that use the principles of educational psychology in their decision-making and teaching. They combine research with the common sense that they have learned throughout their own personal experiences as a teacher. Luckily for you, luckily for me, good teaching can be taught because it's a skill. And like any other skill, it can be learned. So in this class, we're going to talk about different teaching skills and strategies that you can use to become better teachers. So breaking down each of those 4 key factors of a good teacher and looking at mastering teaching skills. In order to master teaching skills, teachers have to learn a bunch of things. Classroom management, how to assess prior knowledge, ways to motivate students and differentiate instruction are all critically important, as well as the ability to communicate the subject matter effectively. So who knows what it means to differentiate instruction? We'll talk about this a little bit later on in class, but here is the sneak peek. So differentiation just means making the instruction different for each student in order to meet them where they currently are in terms of what their needs are. So a differentiation in a math lesson could be giving Tommy subtraction facts because he has weak subtraction skills versus giving Sally addition facts to work on because she needs a boost in her addition. So once all of these skills are built upon and eventually mastered, that leads to teacher efficacy. And interestingly, teacher efficacy is one of the most powerful predictors of a teacher's influence on students. By having a solid foundation in these teaching skills, teachers can develop their own teacher efficacy. So self-efficacy, as we all know, is the resolve that we as people are able to do things. So self-efficacy for a teacher efficacy would be the teacher's belief that they have the ability to enact change and are able to do things. So teachers believe that their own actions have an influence on children's learning. So teacher efficacy is opposite from the belief that factors such as children's inborn intelligence, their home environment, and so on are solely responsible for whether or not children achieve. Instead, despite intelligence, despite home environment, teachers with teacher efficacy believe that they can have a difference in those children's lives and to help them learn despite those other factors that they have no control over. So when students fail, teachers who have their strong teacher efficacy will keep going and they'll persist in their efforts and not give up on the student. They will keep trying to teach that student. They will find new ways to enable their students to learn. So all of that is great, and I'm sure you all want to be good teachers and master those skills to eventually develop teacher efficacy. What is educational psychology? So educational psychology is the systematic study of learners, learning, and teaching. So research in educational psychology has been conducted years and years and years. And then what we've learned is applied to the classroom to best help students learn and best facilitate their learning through different teaching methods. So the research that's been done in educational psychology has focused on the processes by which information, skills, values, and attitudes are communicated between teachers and students in the classroom, as well as on applications of the principles of psychology to instructional practices. So the research that's been done shapes educational policies, professional development programs, and teaching materials. And educational psychology research is continuing. So new research that develops will continue to shape these different facets that have direct implications for teachers in their classroom. What is the purpose of educational psychology? Well, it provides teachers with research-based principles to guide their teaching. Teachers who ground themselves in research, theory, and practical wisdom are more likely to become intentional, effective teachers because they're seeing what research says works, combining it with what they themselves see work from their personal experiences, and then use that knowledge to create effective learning environments for their students. So there are a couple of different words, sorry about that. There are a couple of different words related to research that we're going to go over briefly. So while reading this book, you'll come across the terms principles, laws, and theories. And these are three different things. So a theory is where research starts. A theory is a set of related principles and laws that explains some broad aspect of learning behavior or another area of interest. So a lot of research tests part of a theory or all of a theory to try to give support to it. Laws are principles that have been thoroughly tested and apply in a wide variety of situations. So laws are considered fact, whereas theory are just educated guesses. So theories are educated guesses that are trying to explain something. Laws are considered scientific fact. And then principles explain relationships between different factors. So educational psychology researchers do a couple different things in their research. They test ideas, like testing theories. They try to identify sound pedagogy or instructional practices. They define and refine principles or relationships between factors. They try to enhance the predictability of classrooms and lend evidence towards most effective classroom management. They try to help teachers meet the needs of all students by determining what students need and how best to meet those needs. And then in general, educational psychology researchers conduct research to help teachers become more intentional and the best teachers that they can be. So in this class, by reading and learning about different psychological principles and what research has said about those principles and theories, you guys will become more intentional because you're really learning what research says is the most evidence-based instructional practice in the field as of now. So teaching has a lot of decision-making within it. Teachers have to decide a lot of things all the time. And when making decisions, teachers will go through a set of actions. Knowing educational psychology principles will help teachers make the best decision possible because they will have more of the solid facts or what research suggests to be the best answer at the time. Knowing educational psychology principles won't allow teachers to know the right decision all of the time, but having knowledge of these principles will help teachers find the best decision in the moment and will really guide the decision-making process. Experience plays a really large role into learning skills as a teacher. Making decisions in the moment depends on many factors like the context and the desired goals, etc., and those can't be explained in a textbook. However, through learning about educational psychology, teachers can obtain a foundation of best practice principles. Then, combined with common sense and experience gained through being in the classroom, teachers can combine these skills to become the most effective that they can be. So as you read through this book, and as you go through your professional careers, reading articles and consuming research, it's important to understand how to be an intelligent consumer of research in general, as well as educational psychology research. So the first tip is to be a consumer of relevant research. So find research that will be meaningful to your profession. If you're a teacher, that would be educational research or educational psychology research. If your business / future profession is in marketing, then you'd want to read marketing research. So you want to maintain a working knowledge of research that's relevant to you as a teacher. You want to read professional journals in your field and network with other teachers either face-to-face or via the internet nowadays. Another way to be an intelligent consumer of educational psychology research is to teach intentionally. So actively engage in behaviors and use those skills that are consistent with being an intentional teacher, such as being thoughtful, purposeful, reflective of your actions, and so on. So the textbook recommends using the scientific method by formulating working hypotheses based on observations and background knowledge, collecting data to test your hypotheses, drawing conclusions based on the data you gathered, and then taking a course of action that is based upon your conclusions. And the textbook recommends that you just use this in your everyday life. So when you're in a classroom and you're faced with an issue presented by a child, you can use the scientific method to say, hey, I wonder if Johnny is acting this way because of X, Y, or Z. And then by collecting data or understanding more about what Johnny's going through or what the classroom is like right before Johnny throws a desk or goes into a tantrum, that data will help you to learn if your working hypotheses are correct or not, or if you need to go back to the drawing board. And then the last tip for being an intelligent consumer of educational psychology research is to share your experiences. So share what you've learned with your colleagues. You can do this by publishing your own articles and journals, by running workshops, conducting in-service demonstrations, or just discussing online or in person with other teachers. So some ways to become an intentional teacher. First of all, become certified to be a teacher. You can seek mentors in professional development. Again, be involved in professional publications and associations, even if it's just reading up on the current research. That will really put you at an advantage. And then just talk teaching, like I mentioned on the last slide. So talk about teaching with your fellow teachers and even people who don't teach. Really hone your craft. So as a recap to the short little lecture that we just did on educational psychology broadly, we talked about what makes a good teacher, what the role of research is in educational psychology, and how you can become an intentional teacher in your future. Remember that your assignment for this week is to post on the Introduce Yourself to Classmates discussion board. You'll need to post one original posting as well as reply to 2 peers' posts by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. And then another reminder, if you missed the announcement of the bonus opportunity earlier on in the video, make sure that you scroll back and watch through a second time to learn what the bonus opportunity is, because it will also be due on Saturday by 11:59 p.m.